Howdy, folks. My name is Jasper Lufkin. I thought I'd drop by tonight to ask everybody in attendance a question or two. Where are we? And the sidekick question that comes immediately to mind, when are we? You would think as the most highly advanced civilization that's ever existed on Earth, any normal citizen would be able to answer these questions with ease. To the inquiring mind, the answers you will receive do not hold up against any type of serious scrutiny. Best answer I have to where are we is, it's a long story. See, the questions tend to lead to more questions. So where to begin? Well, I guess I definitely want to give a quick explanation of the inspiration and history of this channel before I attempt to sum all of it up in a super fast sentence or two, which I've been known to do from time to time. But you never know if the iron is going to strike hot enough with a lightning burst at sunrise for that to happen. If you look at the About section, you'll see that I made this channel all the way back in 2013. And my original idea was to travel around and document the pilgrimages to various sacred or otherwise non-congruous ancient sites. You know, like the pyramids. Like you see the pyramids when you're a kid, and right away, blam, they don't really, look like anything else, do they? But you're assured that we know the whole deal with the copper chisels and all that jazz. And I had a ticket to Italy in March of 2014, and I didn't take the flight because I suffered an injury that altered the course of my life. I'm just now starting to feel like I might make a full recovery, so I'm almost out of the woods. That's why I made this video. And I got a bad case of FOMO because I look around on YouTube over the last few days, and I noticed that there's many channels, some of them extremely popular. Can you believe, it sounds like I'm reading right now, right? I got these notes, but they're attempting to decipher our actual timeline and place in the cosmos. So in regards to me chasing pumps, I wish you well. It's not a loss if you don't sell. But where are we? The scientific model says we're on a hunk of rock hurtling through the cosmos while simultaneously spinning in place while orbiting around the sun while the sun flies ever outward in the ever-expanding universe. But if you look at the North Star, all the other stars rotate around it over the course of a year. And the constellations have been in the same place since what, 10,000 BC? Is that how far back we have these ancient civilizations, quote unquote, like Sumer and Babylon? In Egypt and Assyria, they were all tuned into, all the monuments, they're always aligned with stars, right? So that could segue into the Sphinx question about maybe it was a lion and it was facing towards where Leo came over the horizon at that point in time. But then you got the maps that we use today. Like, you ask your friend Google, he'll quote tell you the last time the sun was in the constellation Cancer during the June solstice was thousands of years ago. Why did I say 2000? By that program with Catholicism. All the maps we have, like, they just didn't bother to update the tropics. But the old maps are in English. I guess I'm talking a little outside of my sphere of real knowledge. I've just accumulated so many impressions over time that some specifics you don't always need to dig that much deeper into know that there's some truth behind. I guess I'll get dragged across hot coals already for my attitude towards this whole thing. But recently I did stumble upon what I thought was a really big clue that could really sink the Demiurge's battleship. You know what I'm saying? Not that that's possible. But there's this learned professor going around. He says Greek is older than Hebrew. So according to him, there are no Hebrew texts before 1000 AD. And the word hallelujah, you can find it all the way back in ancient Greek before it appears in the Bible. The Bible was translated from what? From Greek, right? Not from Hebrew. That came later. I teased you guys. I said I'd sum it all up in a sentence or two, and I'm just rambling. But isn't that just the way YouTube goes, right? The summary I was talking about, the alternate history timeline, as far as I can tell, is we're on a planet that used to have a worldwide advanced civilization that employed electrical technology, and it had the capability to build structures on a scale we can't match even to this day. And the planet went through at least one cataclysm, we'll call it. A massive civilization-ending die-off. So the one that everybody kind of agrees on is the Great Flood. It caused sea levels to rise. And that was about 10,000 years ago, right? At the end of the Ice Age. And wiped out coastal cities. And a lot of the evidence of the previous civilization, which I suppose I'm just speculating now, was what? It was before the Ice Age? So the beginning of the Ice Age is what actually destroyed that civilization. The end of the Ice Age was another cataclysm, though, that brought us out of it. What was in between? What was going on during the Ice Age? Perhaps that's why there's remnants of possibly more than one civilization, which I suppose I'll get to later in my notes. But one of the most phantasmological and phantasmagorical things and ideas that could really be true, though, is that a time far in the past, the planets, the sun, planet Saturn could have been our sun, and the moon didn't exist at the time. There was some kind of great collision in space that caused the asteroid belt. It could have caused a meteor to hit Earth. That could have been what plunged us into the Ice Age originally, or brought us out of it. That's where I'm getting confused, but there's also this other possibility of a recurring cataclysm that this current sun that we have now, Sol, it goes micronova every 26,000 years. Wipes out a good chunk of life on Earth. That's why we find the underground cities in Turkey. We see the evidence of big electrical discharges, like the formation of the Grand Canyon, and that hieroglyphic that everybody claims is a humongous plasma rotating surge bolt thing in the sky that people saw for days. There's also the idea that there's an electrical civilization closer in time to ours if you start getting into the Tartarian territory. Like the cities of North America were here long before they say they were constructed. We have the phenomenon of the World's Fairs and the great number of fires that occurred in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And we got false flags and psyops. Any student of current affairs probably knows that deal. I'm probably already banned on YouTube for saying all these things, but the Hindenburg disaster, was that just to dissuade people from traveling in airships so they could further box in the reality of the common man? I guess I'm trying to tiptoe between the AI. That's why I sound so funny, folks. I'm talking in a rhythm that is much like a doomed sandwalker. You could figure perhaps, or perchance, you don't want to summon the worm unless it's time. So how did it start for me, though? Why did I even start questioning the timeline? I think it's grand what really got to me. I just enjoy it. But I didn't follow through enough. I can't get too much on a high horse because I don't even know ancient Greek to this day. And that would have been a good step in the right direction to figure out what is going on around here. But when I was like 10 or 11 or 12 or something, I distinctly remember something that didn't sit right with me. Because I had been learning about the Greek gods, reading all the myths with Perseus and Theseus, and I really liked everybody, you know? The power and the drama and the fantasy of it all. And my favorite god was always Hermes. He always seemed like he could skate through any situation. But what rubbed me the wrong way was the story of the Titans. Like, wait, you're telling me something came before the gods? Like, that doesn't make sense. I was invested in the gods being the creators of everything. The Titans were the clue that more was lurking underneath the surface. And that there could be some allegorical meaning tied in. So the Titan Kronos, equating to Saturn, being deposed by Zeus. Does it have anything to do with the idea of the heavenly bodies being shaken up? Jupiter was always the biggest planet, though, right? So, how did it go? Who ate their children? It was Kronos ate his children? So Saturn ate the other planets during the collision? What formed the rings of Saturn? You gotta wonder. But anyway, follow the line of inquiry. Eventually you come to another question that people like to ask, and that you might have had thoughts of as a child that were quickly explained away. Is the Earth flat? The reason this one has been tempting for me to entertain is the idea of our atmosphere existing right alongside the quote-unquote vacuum of space and not just being sucked away. Like the firmament, it's tempting to believe in, right? A glass dome keeping the water out makes sense compared to the idea that we cannot for some reason return to the moon because NASA lost the telemetry data. But I'm not going so far as to say I subscribe to the flat Earth theory, because that also has disinformation written all over it, right? But maybe one of the clues is what Tycho Brahe was saying. What was that guy up to? Who were the Dutch, anyway? Maybe we are at the center of the universe, but when is it? And who's running the show? And is it the breakaway space Nazis? And why are they called Freemasons? Is that a play on words? They just go around the world inheriting free masonry, as in the pyramids and the cathedrals, etc. If you keep looking, you'll eventually question just about everything, including where certain peoples originated from. And not only where we are and when we are, but who we are. I mean, get a load of those conehead skulls down in Peru. And then there's the talk of the other peoples, like who were the Nephilim, and who were the Elohim, and who were the sea people even. And you got to get a load of the temples in India that have actual moving parts, like gears inside of a big machine. But you look at the faces of the surviving statues. Many of them look vaguely Asiatic. But I'm starting to go down a path that isn't going to help us, so let's try to differentiate a few of the civilizations real quick. So like I said before, there's probably more than one thing we're talking about here. Like, was Göbekli Tepe, that place in Turkey, did they bury that on purpose? Is that a cataclysm warning? But so far we've talked about the Tartarian idea. That's the idea that there's an existence of a parallel empire to the current world power that was erased during the 1800s. And, you know, were they the ones who built the cathedrals? Were they over here in North America before recorded history says so? Did they have free energy, so to speak? What about the star forts? Where did they come from? Was that part of the same civilization? We talk about the mud flood, but yeah, what does it have to do with, did things sink or rise? What causes the type of destruction we see that looks otherworldly sometimes? But the trees aren't burned. And then the Statue of Liberty, it's sitting right on top of a star fort. And then who were the mound builders, though? Why is there a Memphis in Tennessee? Certainly probably not who we know as the Native Americans of today, because the stories say that they have stories of who those other people were, the giants with the 2 rows of teeth. They were eating them. They had to fight back, kill them off. Red-headed giants. Lots of stories of those guys getting dug up. Skullduggery on all fronts on the American continent. Like that copper mine up in Michigan that fueled the Bronze Age, right? But what would be very interesting is to have access to Chinese historical documents from thousands of years ago. If I mention the Greek, what about them? Because there's the other rumor that they might have survived the last micronova, and they got legends about it, about how the sky was burning. But you can watch any number of videos that'll tell you there's a lot of different cultural groups around the world who have stories of the Great Flood. One of the big ideas here, though, is that the Bible is a collection of stories that is older than it's given credit for. They just, everything is stolen and rewritten, and that's how they make up history. Jesus was the next Mithras, and the meaning of the word Christ. It's all obfuscated on purpose because of another question, the question why. Why would the powers that be lying about the timeline? And the answer is, of course, simple enough. Is that religion is the preferred method of control. Just ask the Bene Gesserit. And the three major religions are all Abrahamic. People knew how blatantly false the religions were. Things could get chaotic in a hurry. So are they ushering us towards the singularity thing, the AI? Science going to be the new religion? Have I asked all the questions that are worth asking? I guess the other who is a good question. I touched on it briefly. Let's not go there for now, folks. But when is it? Doggy!